Brian Butler here from the Joseph Business School. We are local to the Chicago area. We're out in Forest Park, Illinois. It's about 20 minutes east of here, or 10 miles west of downtown Chicago. And a little bit about my background. I've been at the Joseph Business School for about 9 months now, and I run the International Trade Center there. So in a nutshell, basically we help people either start exporting or build on the exports that they already have. A little background on myself. Prior to this, I spent 20 years in international sales with a heavy focus on Latin America, but several other world regions as well. I speak Spanish and Portuguese, and so for me it's a very natural thing to set up international distributor networks. And in fact, that's what I'm helping our clients do right now. We work with small and medium-sized businesses, the SMEs, and basically we answer the easy questions, like questions on export documentation. How do I draw up a pro forma invoice? How do I figure out what Incoterms to use? So do I charge cash in advance, or do I have the customer pick it up at my warehouse? Or am I better off sending it by air freight all the way to Ghana? Or do I use ocean freight, use containers, etc.? There we go. Oops. Back that one up. Yeah. So we interface with a lot of really good organizations as well. Yesterday we heard from the Export-Import Bank as well as the U.S. Commercial Service. And so we work a lot with those organizations as well as with the state of Illinois. They've got great programs to help our customers find partners overseas. And they've got some grant programs as well. So in particular with the state of Illinois, they've got a grant program that can reimburse a company for 5 different types of international activities that they might do. And so I'll walk through some of those here. So one of them is what they call group international trade missions. So you go with a group of 9 or 10 other companies from Illinois to a country overseas, whether that's Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, etc. And they take care of the exhibition space, but in addition to that, they help you out with some of your travel expenses as far as airfare and hotel expenses. They'll cover up to half of those expenses, up to a maximum of about $5,000. And you can do that up to twice per year. Now, let's say there's a group trade mission to Zimbabwe, but that's not exactly the country that you wanted to focus on, but that's where the group's going. You could also do what's called an individual trade mission. And so that's where, just your company goes to seek out a new distributor, or other relationship, joint venture relationship, sales agent relationship in country X, so maybe that's Togo. And so it's the same idea. You make your trip and you, after the fact, present your expenses back, and then you get a reimbursement for up to 50% of your airfare and hotel. And then I'm going to go through, there are a few other parts. The other programs here have to do, for example, with product compliance. So if you're sending your product to an African country and there's some specific product compliance regulation that you have to comply with, and that's going to cost you money because you have to change your packaging, or you have to do some special testing, etc. You could get a reimbursement for that as well. Another thing is globalization of your website. So if you want to put a portion of your website in another language, or just do some updates to make it more appropriate for the global markets, you can get some reimbursements for that. And then the fifth component is an educational component. So there are some educational programs, for example, like Export Tech, which is a national program, which helps a company sit down and go through, it's a 3-month program, structured program, where they help you figure out your export marketing plan. And we do some international market research to find out, well, what are the best potential countries for the type of product or service that you produce? And then we put together a plan to figure out, well, how do we get into each of those countries? What are the key trade shows? Who are the key potential partners there? What are the key trade shows for your particular industry in those countries? And as well, we interface a lot with, again, the state of Illinois, the U.S. Commercial Service, and the Ex-Im Bank. So the Ex-Im Bank side, it's the financial component. But with the state of Illinois and with the U.S. Commercial Service, they've got offices in a lot of different countries overseas. The state of Illinois has their own offices in 6 different countries. The Commercial Service has offices in 77 different countries. So those are feet on the ground overseas, which is a mixture of Americans and foreign nationals working in those countries that know the country, know the culture, know the language. And so those are excellent sources of information about the markets that you can rely on, because especially if this is a company that this is the first time they're exporting, or maybe this is the first time they're exporting to a particular region like Africa, it's so important, like one of the other speakers mentioned this morning about the culture. You want to make sure that you're respectful of the local culture, that you follow the proper processes, etc. And as well, a lot of times the state and also the U.S. Commercial Service are very key in getting these companies introduced to the right people overseas. Because if you're a $5 million manufacturer here in Chicago and you're trying to get the attention of the number one purchaser of your product in Kenya, they might not take your phone call. But if they have the U.S. Embassy calling them and say, hey, we have this company in Chicago that does X, Y, and Z that's in your industry, would you be available for a conference call or maybe even a visit? As well, both the state and the U.S. Commercial Service are able to accompany you when you go out to make some of those visits with your potential partners. And they can help facilitate, whether it's translation, transportation, just information about the general landscape, the general market, the politics, industrial overview of a particular country, which is extremely helpful because a lot of times you're starting either from zero or close to zero. Oops. And so, and as well, we do a lot with international market research, as I mentioned before, about helping companies find out, well, how big is the market in country X, Y, or Z, and who are the top 5 potential partners there, and how can we help you get connected with those people. And I have here listed as well CRGC, Metro Chicago Exports. They're the ones that run the Export Tech program here, which is that program I mentioned earlier, where it's a 3-month program that helps walk a client through the process of putting together their export marketing plan. And so in addition to the international market research, they also introduce these clients to different service providers that they might need. They'll bring in people from the state, people from the U.S. Commercial Service, the Ex-Im Bank, and they may also do some introductions of other service providers, whether it's people in the logistics field, freight forwarders, could be an international attorney that can help with international distributor contracts, those types of things, because sometimes when customers first get started in export, they're a little bit confused. There's a lot of unknown out there, but part of what we do is help people understand that there's a lot of benefit in export, and although it's different than doing business domestically, there is a science to it, and we make sure that they get the support either directly from us or via some of our partners that have these programs that I've mentioned. And we're very well networked with organizations like Toyin's organization here, and that's how we found out about Trade with Africa, and a number of other international organizations in the Chicago metro area. So again, if we may not have the final answer directly, but if we don't, chances are we know who you can talk to get the specific answer that you need, whether it's referring you to an international freight forwarder, translation company, website development people, those types of things that you may need in the export process. And I think very key thing, probably one of the most key things that Abdul mentioned in his presentation this morning is trust. So trust is very important in any business relationship, even doing domestic business here. But the further the distance, the more important that trust is. So when you're looking, for example, for a distributor or somebody to represent you overseas, they have to have trust in you as the salesperson. They have to have trust in your products. They have to have trust in your company. And even if they know that you've got a great product and great service, great commitment, they still have to know that in those few cases where things don't go right, that you're going to help them correct the situation, whether that's a short shipment of product or whether that's a technical issue or something else that they need to get resolved right away. They need to be able to trust you that you'll be able to get that done. So I definitely work very hard on transmitting that to the clients that I work with. And that is the Illinois International Trade Center at the Joseph Business School. Thank you. Somebody just reminded me of something very important, that in addition to what we do at the International Trade Center, the Joseph Business School is the sponsor for the International Trade Center, and Joseph Business School has some partners around the world, including in Tanzania, in Nigeria, in South Africa, and we've visited many other African countries and are working on developing more partnerships there as well. So, and sometimes there are opportunities for collaboration between the partners that we have already in Africa and the clients that we're working with. So we have that perspective as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.